it's a great honor, and you don't appreciate it, I think, unless you've won. I've been lucky enough to win 3 times, including last year, and the opportunity to come back and share that moment, knowing that the person is going to have kind of a rapid heartbeat and a blur quality to what they're going through. It's very special, and it's also a way of, as I said on stage, it's a good way to be involved in the process, even if you didn't win anything this year.
You've been to the Murrow Awards several times now, so why do you enjoy coming back?
Well, the best part of this, and I noticed this last year in particular, most awards are fairly specific to a part of the industry. You'll get the New York Emmy Awards. There'll be the Radio Network Awards. There'll be the various regional awards and sports awards and everything else. This is basically a cross-section of the entire industry, from the smallest stations in the smallest radio stations in the smallest towns that have radio stations to the broadcast networks. And that mix is a very, very special thing, because it reminds you of the breadth of the industry and your part in it, and how important all of those things are. That what we have at sort of the national scope would not exist without that structure beneath it of all the local stations. And it's great. It's also just great to see people do great work, whether they're at CBS News or working in the smallest town you could imagine. I mean, it's a great reminder how much dedication there is and how many people are out there striving to do the work that you hold yourself, hopefully, to some sort of standard, and here are other people who are achieving that or better.
How do you think the legacy of Edward R. Murrow lives on in today's journalism?
Particularly now, I think the willingness to take risks of all kinds, and I think if you even a careful or not too careful study of Murrow's career will indicate that his great success was as a risk taker. From the first decision to leave a fairly comfortable position that he had with CBS as the director of talks, as they called it, and then to go to Europe to supervise. Basically, he was there to book concert, the lines to cover live concerts as cultural things for the broadcast network. And they said, well, now things are happening news-wise. We need you to find some people to do the news. And he said, well, I've got a better way to do it. Why don't we just do the news ourselves, and I'll go and hire some people. The concept of the correspondent was brand new. You interviewed somebody from a newspaper. He said, why don't we have our own correspondents, and we can train them to do what they need to do, both in terms of broadcast and in terms of journalism. And all the chances he took during the war itself. And there were advocacy positions that he took. There were also risks. And there were, later on, obviously, the risks that he took in the broadcasts about the Red Scare of the early 50s, and all the See It Now programs from television that discussed cancer risks from cigarettes in the 50s, things that were way ahead of their time, and always involved knowing that your responsibility is to do what should be done and let the proverbial chips fall where they may. And half of these stories that have gotten awards tonight are all in that mold. I mean, there are nice features which are great, and there's nothing to be they should not be evaluated less highly than everything else. But investigative journalism and people who are exposing corruption, everybody who does that, and everybody who stands out there freezing in the cold waiting for that felon to come down the street with the fake Veterans Award, is doing a little bit of what Edward R. Murrow did. So it's very much alive to this day.
How do stations like Current TV succeed and compete with larger networks?
We will know that long term more than at the 4 or 5 month stage. What we do is essentially give people who may not have had the level of experience that is required at the other networks the opportunity to do new things. We've been on the air since the 20th of June. Right now I have about 20 people working for me. That constitutes the news division. And I've promoted 3 of them already. We've turned one guy who was an AP right out of college. We sent him out with a camera, and one of the PAs, he's a PA, and the AP that he went out with has a considerable reporting experience. So having no other means of doing this, we sent them down to cover Occupy Wall Street. So the idea is utilize the resources right in front of you, and don't stick to people's resumes. Just stick to what you see in them, their capabilities, and that's the way to compete. And it's very much, again, it dovetails to your other question about, how does the legacy of Murrow live on? You got an hour every night, how are you going to fill it? Well, you better figure out who the right people are to do it and work from there, and that's part of the trick, I think.